Who are we waiting for, Mark?
Mark's running the meeting tonight. Robin has consulting work that she has to do. She had it yesterday and today.
Well, it's 5:30. Daryl's gonna have to start running the meeting.
Well, we don't have a quorum. Oh, no, we do. We got
There
3.
you go.
We have a quorum. And I should know this off the top of my head, but Daryl, I think you're the second vice chairman, right?
That's, yeah, that's what they
Okay.
nominated me for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me get the flag up here and we can start.
We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
You ready? I pledge allegiance
Do the flag.
to the flag of the United States of America,
And to
And
the
to the
republic
republic for which
which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and
justice
justice
for all. Right. So would I call the meeting to order, do I?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Right. All right.
And then the January 20th minutes
Yeah.
were sent out to all of you. Remember
Yeah.
some of the
Motion.
changes.
I'll make a motion.
There a
Go ahead.
motion on the minutes, Josh?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Oh, there's Mark. Yeah.
All in favor?
All in favor? Yeah.
Meeting's over, Mark.
Okay,
We voted to let you buy us all supper.
there you go.
Good. Mark, you're just in time. I'm stumbling through the meeting here, so, yeah.
That's good. I'd be stumbling too.
All right. So, yeah, where were we at? We just brought the meetings of the January 20th. And do we want to make a motion? Does Mark need to come in on that, or what did we?
I
No,
thought we approved them.
Nope, they're approved.
They're approved. All right, moving on. Okay.
But now you're on the payroll warrant.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let me get on to. Mike continuing on, or Mark?
Mark is.
Mark is right. Yeah.
Good job, though.
Yeah.
Not
Thanks,
bad.
Flo.
Yeah, would have took longer.
Yeah. We got the Pledge of Allegiance done.
Oh, that's great.
The minutes.
Yeah.
You guys were on top of it. You're only 3 minutes into it and you get half the agenda done.
Yeah.
So we have to payroll warrant, number 1. I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit behind you.
Sorry, AP, what, 42 payroll warrant?
42. We have a motion to accept payroll 42.
I make a motion. Oops, I'll second.
Okay, Josh first, Lou second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passed. Accounts payable warrant. That would be number 44, I believe.
I'll make a motion on AP 44.
I'll second.
Darrell first, Josh seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes. Presentations?
Mark, is there a reason we went from 42 to 44?
Oh, I'm sorry, you have number 43, which is the Hager one.
Yeah, Mark?
Yeah.
Mark, could I comment on that?
Sure.
This was submitted in December, but I don't have a change order on this yet. I'm expecting that very soon, any day now. But I'd like you to go ahead and approve this, and we'll keep the check in the safe until we get the signed change order from the contractor, the owner's representative, and then MDOT. And
Okay,
then we'll mail the check at that point.
do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion, we accept AP 43.
Yes.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? And I abstain. All right, we back on track now?
I'm sorry, I looked down. Did we have the 3 votes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep,
No.
on presentations, I don't have any. There's no one here except for Becky, and she's going to talk under the item related to the town meeting.
Okay,
I don't have any citizen correspondence, and again, I don't see anyone here under that section. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to move down to 8-1, date, time, location for annual meeting. It's under official action items, but I don't want to keep Becky, and you have to. You may not have seen it, but I sent out a message just in the last hour or so. It was the MMA legal opinion. The question that the board asked at your last meeting was whether the Board of Selectmen had the option of just having a secret ballot. And I shared with you at the time that I didn't think so, because there was reference in the charter provision to action by the floor, which you obviously can't do at a secret ballot and a secret ballot election. And MMA legal confirmed that that's the case, that it's a bifurcated election process that is not changed by the governor's orders last year. So you have to have the two meetings. That's not to say that you couldn't have an open. You have the secret ballot meeting on June 8th, right? And then the open meeting on June 9th, but you don't have anything on the warrant for that meeting, so you can just open it and close it, open and adjourn it. Or, my suggestion was that you include on the secret ballot referendum what I feel are the more substantive questions, which in my view turn out to be about half of the warrant articles. And then for the open town meeting, you have the more routine articles, and the board will have to decide, which articles go on which one if you decide to go this route. But I was thinking that when I looked at the warrant from last year, it was like every article from 27 on. So you would have, of course, the things that have to be on the ballot, the secret ballot, the election of the selectmen and the various other officers, and then the budget, all the budget articles on the secret ballot, and you'd have the provider agency requests on the secret ballot. And then you would also have all of the revenue items. We may have to go for a waiver of the LD1 issue this year, because I'm afraid that there's a few items that are going to put us over the LD1 limit. So you definitely want that on the secret ballot. And that's about it. And then, you know, those like related to giving the Board of Selectmen the authority to set the time, date, and place for the next town meeting, allowing the board to accept gifts and donations and grants. Those types of items I feel are relatively routine. You could have those on the open meeting, and that would help avoid having a ballot that's you know, 40 plus, our secret ballot that's that long. And also, I forgot to mention, on the secret ballot election, you would have the ordinances that we're planning on taking to the voters, and the charter amendment that we need to take to the voters on the Historical Preservation Commission. So that's
That would be on
that's
the-
my proposal. Yeah.
That would be on the secret ballot, right?
Yes. Yeah, that has
Yeah.
to be, by charter, that has to be on the secret ballot, and by statute.
So how many articles do you think, Matt, that we could get for open town meeting, knowing that a lot of the towns around here are already going to the secret ballot on
Well-
every,
Well, you know, based on last year's, I was saying from Article 27 to 42 on the secret ballot. So that's, I mean, on the open meeting ballot, I think that was your question. That's 15, plus I thought, that's 15 articles, plus I thought there was another one early on. Oh, and reports, Article 5, to act on the reports from the selectmen, assessors, overseers of the poor, town manager, treasurer, tax collector, town clerk, and other officials. I think it's a routine one. You put that on the open town meeting. So about 15 on the open, 25 on the secret ballot. And Becky, do you want to chime in on the logistics of the secret ballot? You know, in terms of what we could put on the secret ballot, and the, you know, what's involved in that now that we can do that in an automated.
Well, you can put anything on there. There's no limit. I have to check on the length of the ballot itself for the machine. But the state ones are, you know, what, legal length plus. So it can be at least that long. So definitely you could do 20, what'd you say? 20.
Yeah, we'd like to, it's better if we can do it on 2 pages of front and back. You know, it's just easier to feed into the machine and such. Just makes it that much easier for the election officials and the people assisting, and the voters, of course.
Yep.
But I don't know. We need to check on this, but like I typically include a chart that shows the detail of the capital reserves, including the current balance and what the balance will be in the coming year. Becky and I talked, and we might be able to do that through the town manager budget message that goes out to everyone ahead of time. And so we wouldn't necessarily have to put that on the ballot itself, but we need to be checking on that.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to, because you have to have a public hearing on the ballot,
Right,
just a public hearing so they can ask questions about what's on the ballot. So you could do that handout at that public hearing.
right. So if what I described sounds acceptable to the board, I can go ahead and uh, provide you with a warrant that splits out the articles, and you can change them. You know, you could say, no, this doesn't need to go to the secret ballot. It could go on open and vice versa.
So the goal is to get 2 pages, Matt?
You know, I think that's, you know, from what Becky was telling me, that makes them a lot cleaner, front and back, but they're, you know, they're legal size pages.
Yeah, I
If we
don't
could-
think you could do it. I don't think it will fit on a single page.
Right.
And you wouldn't want 2 separate, 3 ballots for the voters. So you definitely want to have front and back. So you could just have the candidates ballot and then the referendum ballot. Not
those-
unlike all state elections.
Those have to be separate, those ballots, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier. So you already automatically have 2 ballots. You've got the candidate ballot, and then you've got all the other articles that are on the warrant. And then one thing I mentioned in my message to you that you may not have read that yet, but at the time I wrote that, I didn't believe we were going to have a state referendum or a primary or election. And Becky informed me that could change. You know, they have a couple months to decide whether or not there are going to be any state issues on there. But for now, at this point, we don't have any state issues.
Right.
So if we can just leave a little bit of room for the state issues and know what we can put in for 2 pages.
Well, the state issues would be their own ballot, and that just they have their own timeline. You know what I mean? So that doesn't really affect us per se.
Yeah.
It just would change the number of people that come vote, you know, because there's a
Right.
state.
That was my point in the message, was that you know, the last time we had a local election that didn't coincide with a state election, we had 114 people vote, as opposed to, you know, like 2016, where we had the marijuana issue, a ton of extra people voted, and we had, you know, of course, the presidential and the statewide ballot issues then. So we had, what, Becky, over 1,400, maybe 1,700 voters in 2000.
For this most recent one?
Well, in 2020, we had a lot also. So
Yeah.
we had,
I think 16 was 1,200.
okay. And so, yeah, then you increase the number of people who come out to vote by, you know, 10 times.
You know, my personal opinion here is, and like I've said right along, I want to see the most amount of people that we can get out there to vote. And I do know that absentee ballots now are a big thing. So I hear what you're saying. We need to do what we can, but I also wish the board would consider getting as much as we can to those voters to let them have a say, because you have people that will not come to the town meeting, and, you know, to think about 25, 30, 40 people that show up to a town meeting is just kind of sad, you know, that's for what it's worth.
And in all likelihood, we will have a cap on attending still in June. And right now that's at 50.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to hear some of the other board members, what their thought is on that, because
Well,
I think it's important that we talk about.
Yeah, I think, you know, I agree with Mark somewhat there. You know, we were looking at, you know, low turnout, but how do we, you know, there's a lot more exposure with the absentee or the early voting and whatnot. It'll be nice to get as many people involved. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess, Mark, and my opinion would be to try to get as much on the ballot as we can. And, you know, if we only had 5 articles on for an open meeting, that wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
As much, the majority,
Yeah.
majority as we can get on this ballot would be the best thing.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure we can get everybody involved and kind of make sure that if this pandemic's still going, that the articles that we do have to vote on are the most important things that people need to make a decision on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
as far as I know, there's always the question of like the discussion, you know, if you get a ballot with 15, 20 items on it and people are looking at it going, you know, how do you, can you preview them? You know, how do you see them? Like, can we advertise them ahead of time? How do you get people to know what they're, so they can decide, you know, they're not blindsided by a ballot going, I don't know what to do. And, you
Well, we
know,
have the public hearing can, you know, held remotely. We don't need to have that live.
yeah. And you get them out in the paper and say, this is what's coming
Just do our
out. And,
best.
yeah. So at least, yeah. So,
yeah, you know, that's a good point, but I get a question from Matt is, what about leading up to that time? And we know that people will be pulling those secret ballots 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time, if it seems to be anyways. So is there a way that we can go ahead and have a good public hearing and we know what's on there and fully discuss the pros and the cons to the articles?
Yeah, we're required to have here for, you know, for a referendum. So we would have that anyway, but in addition to that, we could have kind of a public meeting, a Selectmen's meeting, it's just a discussion of the issues going down. You know, at a public hearing, we typically say, you know, the board asks for any comments, and if nobody has any comments, we just move on. But you could have a public meeting where we go down each article and describe you know, what it's about. Yeah, and then we record that, and we could have that accessible on the webpage.
yeah.
And you have to do that before the ballots are available for absentee ballots. So you'd have to make sure you had that before, I think it's May 6th is when the absentee ballots are available.
So these meetings that have to take place in April.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got to get on the stick here, you know, staff level.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do and try it. It's different times.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get the information out and we'll know what's coming.
So
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the date, time, and location for the annual town meeting as presented. That was June 8th for the secret ballot referendum, and June 9th at GSB School, I believe at 6 p.m. Is that correct, Becky?
Yep,
Yep.
that is the numbers.
And that is 2021.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Lou seconded. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
You are
Becky.
welcome.
Thanks, Beck.
Becky.
Matt.
So we're going to go back to town manager items?
Yeah, and then if I could, I'm just going to mention that the board, I think, is excusing Robin because of a work commitment this evening. She has some of her consulting work that has to go on as we speak, so.
Update on the municipal parking lot sewer line.
Yeah. So I shared with you the letter that Robin received from Leanna on behalf of the trustees. And, I haven't made any bones about the fact that I'm disappointed to see that. I think that that and is shared by at least some of you. And it's not only that they are not agreeing to maintain a lift station that will probably be required. They're not offering to help in any other way to help solve this, even though the town is going through the effort of having about $200,000 in rebuilding of the sewer system, the sanitary sewer system. So we'll continue to work with the sanitary district, but I just wanted to express that disappointment.
Question.
Yeah.
Matt, I have a question for you. Real
Josh.
quick. Is that all right, Mark?
Yeah, Josh.
Yep. Can you get a couple prices just so we could put in the budget for like the maintenance agreement from some of the local companies that already do the private lift stations, just so we can kind of figure some of the cost in our budget for the municipal lot?
I will.
Thank you, Josh. The question I have is, you were gonna, Alan McPhee was going to look at this situation?
Yeah. George Parker and I are continuing to push that issue. The initial response was, no, you can't do it, but we're playing engineer and we're continuing to ask questions. We're hoping to set up an on-site meeting in the next couple days. So I'm still pursuing that option. Everyone involved in this on a basis is saying a gravity flow system is much better than a lift station, than a mechanical system. There's so much that can go, there probably wouldn't be anything that went wrong with it, but the chances are greater with a mechanical system versus the gravity flow system. So we're continuing to work on that. I got a big no today, but I said, but what if? And now we're all going back to the drawing board.
I get a question. Is in that last meeting, they said that as they came up to that area, the line ran uphill. And have we looked at what it would be to go back and redo that line to drop that down? Is it possible to drop that down 1.5 feet and then bring it up just beyond that to where Rennie's is?
The slopes, the elevations don't allow for that. So you could bring I could have Jan or George back to explain this in more technical terms, but you can lower the line at Rennie's and Damerscott Center, but then you'd still need a pump station further down the line. You'd need the pump station next to Misery Gulch to bring it up to the line that's coming down from Main Street along Misery Gulch down to the pump station. So you still need a lift station at some point. You could put I guess the other side of this is most of that new line is already in. I mean, if you'd like the more technical response, I can get a response from.
Well, my question is Leanna said that as soon as they got in that area, they started bringing that sewer line up, quite a bit. But they were bringing it up because of two things. The difficulty that they were dealing with, but they were actually following what they were supposed to be doing that was engineered. So my question is if they were to pick it up in front of the restrooms and kept that elevation coming further rather than bringing it up, is it possible? That's all I'm asking. You know, I'm just,
And the response is, we would need to put if we adjust those lines, in any way, the height of the main line, we would need to put a pump station in somewhere. The elevations don't work out, but I can have Jan give a written response on that.
you know, I'm just looking for one line.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right? The Damascus Center.
yeah, I'm curious as well, Mark, on that, where they started bringing those elevations up. You know, like you said, where they started coming up on this upper end here, and whether or not there's enough there. So it would be nice to hear from the engineering side and from the contractor side as well, to see where that, you know, if
Yeah,
there
the
is.
contractor is just going to follow the engineer's drawing, so I could have the.
Well, sure,
could-
but they're also the guys on the ground, so they've got a little bit of input on it. So
Yeah. But
You know,
the-
I'm not blaming the contractor whatsoever, because he did what he was told to do.
That's right. He's doing what he's told to.
He
and
followed that.
It's been a
But
very
because
frustrating
we-
situation for
yeah,
him.
yeah, I agreed.
Because we didn't do any test holes, we didn't know where that line was. So, you know, like I'm saying is, if we step back a little bit, and at what point can we chop that line, pick that up and go deeper, and then bring it up to when you get by Damascus Center, to avoid having a pump station? Is it possible? That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I'll have the technical, the
you got-
answer is going to be no, but I'll have the technical explanation for you.
I mean, I just hate to see us have a pump station. We want to get out of the sewer business, you know, in that back parking lot. And then my other question is do we have an agreement with the sewer district written that they're going to take this over, or is it just verbal?
It's written in an email. I asked Jenny Villeneuve to write up an agreement that the trustees would sign, and she said she preferred to wait until after the work was done.
And that's picking it up from our new line all the way to the property line. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. It clears up this confusion about who owns under the parking lot. And so it's going to, you know, the parking lot's going to be to the right of way that we have in you know, the town ways right now, as far as this agreement is concerned. The sanitary district will have responsibility for everything under the parking lot.
Okay. Yeah,
And
we
I've got
should have
that
that in writing.
I have that in an email. Again, I would prefer to have it from the beginning, but yeah, I'll talk to Jenny again about that.
Maybe we could push them a little bit to get it in writing.
Yeah. That would be good. Any more discussion on the sewer line project?
You know, I just do want to emphasize that even though we have this issue at the tail end of the project and the discussion, it still made sense to move the line up close buildings. We don't get the same gravity flow with Rennie's and Damascus Center, but we get all that clutter out of the parking lot, and we get rid of all those old lines, and we don't have to replace those old lateral lines that go through the lot. So I know I don't know, it may sound like I'm being a little defensive, but or defensive on behalf of the engineer. Yeah, it still makes sense to put that new line in closer to the buildings.
You know-
I agreed. Yeah.
You know, and I agree, but I'm still concerned that we still have some clay lines from the buildings out to that new line.
No. Well, we won't have We won't have
None
clay,
at all?
have clay line out to the new line.
So all those got replaced?
Yeah, they're getting replaced. The only pieces that aren't being replaced are, anything that's on private property. And so that, you're right, that could be clay line. If it's totally on the private, we might be hooking up to the clay lines. But then there was a fire in the Serendipity building, and now, it's now the smoke
Yeah.
shop in the 1990s, from what I understand. And at that time, the clay pipe was replaced with plastic pipe. So that's going to be relatively new pipe. And then, yeah, I think your point was, Mark, that the private lines could still be clay unless the property owners have contacted their own contractor and said, like Colby and Gale has done, and said, no, we're going to replace the line right to the floor of the building.
Yeah, and I'm not looking at on their private properties at all. I'm just looking at if we're gonna spend all this money on a new parking lot, I don't want to have clay pipe anywhere underneath it.
Yeah, there is no place where there's clay pipe.
Good.
Yeah, unless it's on the, unless it's part of the sanitary district's line that goes up the driveway to Water Street. That I don't know. I mean, it's been outside our purview.
Yep. Waterfront project update?
We had a great meeting yesterday, and I encourage you to watch that. I sent out the link to the, I think I should let Haas comment too, but I thought it was, a great meeting. And I sent out the link for the cloud recording of that. We'll also have that on the website for anyone to view. But it just seemed like so many different pieces to this were coming together. I can't help but excited, and I think that view was shared by everyone.
Thumbs up.
We had about 25 to 27 people on that Zoom call. So from a host standpoint, it was a bit of a challenge, but very, very productive meeting. Haas, do you want to jump in?
I had to find my unmute button. Yeah, I thought it was, well, first of all, it was amazing having, this thing started with like 4 guys in a meeting in Wiscasset 9 years ago, and to have over 20 people in this meeting all focused on this project to see where things have come. That was really amazing. I mean, it was great. And I just want to Mark, your point earlier about not wanting clay pipe. We've been talking about that for 6 years on this project, and I can't see any way Matt could avoid it, given how it's been part of the background thinking, part of everything in the background here. But I guess you can get the enthusiasm in my voice. I get a little discouraged, and Matt saw an email I sent out today. People wanting to reinvent the wheel, decisions I thought we'd made long ago. But it's real progress is being made. Is that fair, Matt?
Yes, and I think, some of the things we talked about with the Malone and McBroom study in 2013 through 2015, those were very preliminary. So you're going to see some fine tuning, some different ways of looking at it, like 5 years, 6 years later.
Well, I think we'll get them resolved, though.
Yeah. So we've got, I'm working to schedule a meeting next Tuesday or Wednesday with the committee, give them some time to think about the 3 concepts that were presented to them yesterday. And, they can obviously modify those however they wish. And then based on that, we'll give the consultants direction on how to with the next phases of this.
Well, what I think I could add is that when you see the concepts they're presenting for what it might look like, at the same time we're building to flea height or 13 or 14 feet, and what it would look like and what the park would be like for people to rest there on the edge, I think you'll be excited about the possibilities. because it does what we need to do economically for the downtown, and yet gives us I think, what would be an even more interesting park area than we have now.
Good.
Right. Then the last item that I had on my list was the solar energy systems ordinance. This is the second ordinance that I was referring to earlier that we would have on the warrant. So as I shared with you I shared with you Bob's message, because he did a great job of articulating the issue at hand. We've got a couple requests pending from private companies that want to build the community solar farms, and you've probably seen the ads. I know I got one in the mail a few weeks ago that says if you join one of these community you can get a discount on your electric energy costs. So with the incentives that the private sector has and the incentives that are being given or offered to customers, there's a lot of interest in these throughout the state. And like two firms have contacted us. You look at our ordinance though, and it's not a permitted use unless it's an accessory structure or it's a municipal utility. So we've got 3 of these solar arrays in town now that aren't residential. And those are either an accessory use or a municipal utility. So what we want to do is allow for these community solar farms where they don't meet that criteria, but at the same time have certain rules in place, such as a buffer from the main road. I don't think we want to lose the rural character of, say, the bypass or other main routes by putting in the solar arrays, solar panels. So so the reason I have this on the agenda tonight, it still needs to go to the Land Use Advisory Committee. Those discussions have already started, and then it needs to go to a planning board public. But I didn't want to go forward with this if it wasn't support on the part of the Board of Selectmen, because you ultimately have to approve the warrant that goes to the voters. So I'm not asking you for any particular feedback on the ordinance. I just want to make sure that generally you're in favor of going forward with this.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. Oh,
I don't
Okay.
have a problem.
yeah,
I'm
let's
good.
see what they come up with for ordinance changes and whatnot. So
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's just keeping in mind your neighbors and whoops.
Yep.
Official action items. Date and time, we've already taken care of the annual town meeting. Appointment to the budget committee.
You heard firsthand Bruce Rockwood. Well, I just want to formalize that and have you appoint him as a regular member. He's currently an alternate.
Do we have a motion to appoint Bruce Rockwood on the budget committee?
I'll make a motion to approve Bruce Rockwood as a budget committee full-fledged member.
Any second?
I'll second, Mark.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Passes. Appointment to the planning board alternate position.
Yeah, we had, Evan was good enough to put an article in the newspaper on this, and I received one response to that opening of the alternate position from Gary Rosenthal. I don't know him, but I've communicated with him, and Bob has had some good discussions with him. I think it'd be great to have him as an alternate. He can see what the board is like, it's only going to be for a few months because the alternate positions are appointed an annual basis. So this will just give him a few months to see what it's all about. And if he wants to continue, he can request it at that point.
Do we have a motion on the floor for Gary Rosenberg? I'll make the motion that we, Gary has lived in town for 15 years. I do know him here at school. I believe he used to be a superintendent. I think he'd be a good fit to help out the town. So I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Yeah, I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Request for proposal for Vine Street drainage improvement, Vine and Church Street drainage improvements.
You want me to give an explanation?
Yes, please.
You've had, some discussions on this previous, last time would have been July. And this has been a project that's been talked about for more than the time that I've been here. So, the last decade. Is from what I understand, there had been a plan to make these improvements when the original Church Street sidewalk was done from Main to Elm. And there was just not enough money at the time to do that. So we've allocated dollars for this in the capital reserve. We've had discussions with the residents. We've got one resident that isn't happy. He doesn't want to see the trees gone, but he has, a different plan. I've offered to have Zoom meetings. The engineer and his has been, no, let's just agree to disagree. But other than that, the other abutters are in agreement with the changes. I think it's, you talk about clay pipes. These have been in the ground for, I don't know how long. Yeah, I think it's time to go out for bid, at least see if we've got enough money in the budget to afford this project.
Now, Matt, I've got a question. The document's like 260 something pages long. But I did get a chance to kind of look through things on that, but do we have enough time? Because I saw the bid due date was like February 19th.
I think what I mentioned is in here is that I'm asking you to approve the bidments with the exception of the dates, and I'll need to revise the dates to make sure, we have for the two public notices that I have time to notify contractors, and that there's enough time for those prospective respondents to prepare bids. So I'll need to adjust those. If you approve this tonight, I'll talk to Andrew tomorrow to adjust those dates.
I guess, my only comment would be is, I agree, we gotta, make sure that we have our time frame right, but don't let it go so far that everybody's got their work all lined up, and then it's not a good situation for the town. So the sooner the better.
We're probably looking at a bid opening date in the first week in March.
So I'll make a motion to approve the RFP for Vine and Church Street drainage improvements.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. So Matt, on that note though, how many trees are actually going to be replaced? I mean, is it a big issue?
No. I'm a, I'm a tree guy, but I think, we had a meeting on site and Andrew pointed out the trees that had to, it was a minute of trees. It's the brushwork that's going to have to go.
Yeah.
Just a lot of growth in there in the last few decades. Nobody's gotten in there to clean that up.
Right.
We've got to run some equipment down there, so there'll be some loss of trees. I can't give you an exact number, but I know, that's most disturbed. We were talking about 3 trees, and the residents agreed. The two abutters to that property said, yeah, we understand.
All right, then we have under official action, the Maine Department of Transportation Main Street Sidewalk Grant. So Matt, if you can fill us in there.
Yeah. This was a surprise, a very pleasant surprise, and we had asked for this grant to begin at the last year of their 3-year plan, 2023, and then continue, once it was approved, it would continue into subsequent years. That's when we're going to start having money available from the TIF fund. And at that point is when we want to bond out the money so we can pay for our share of this full project in 2023, 2024. But the surprise was that Maine DOT said, no, let's not wait to 2023 to get started. Let's start it now. And it's a new approach that they're using where, like you take the Bristol Road project and all the other projects that they were doing around the state. In the 3-year plan, they take that chunk of money and they set it aside. So it's tied up for that full term. Now what they're saying is we're going to spend the money, we're going to set aside the money for the projects that are moving ahead. So they're going to set aside their 48,000, our 12,000 now, but they're not going to set aside the other 400,000 that they're committing. So what that allows them is they can say in this year's budget, we can start this project. We don't have to wait till we accrue 400,000. So that change, and plus the fact that we're a bit of a squeaky wheel, I think, leads us to where we are today. That they're the good folks. They realize the need for a sidewalk on 1B, so and especially near the school. So all those factors I think come into play here in saying that, yeah, they want to start the engineering and the preliminary right-of-way acquisition in 2021, yet this year. I think it's pretty exciting. You might see that in my
Yeah, I think it's great because what we see is, like, as we saw in the Bristol Road project, so many years go by and then the cost increase. And then we're even looking at the money that we received from the Dollar General Sherman-Williams project. We're already probably can't even cover if we were to go out and step out to do that sidewalk right now. So I do think it's important that we move on these as soon as we can because of the cost.
And I let the state know, put this in the application, and then I reiterated it to them. I said, as long as this doesn't affect our eligibility for the grant, we don't want to manage this project locally. We've got, for a small town, we have so many things going on. It's just basically too much for us to take on another major project. And the state said, no, we will give you the money and we will manage it. Now, so it's not going to be a local project administration. So their quality standards, they have to enforce them. They're going to oversee the engineering, they're going to oversee the construction. And it takes us out of this intermediary position, which was, so time consuming right from 2012 on. But what the downside of that is that there's a fee that comes with that. So it will eat into the money that we have available for the project because Maine DOT charges us for their planning time. That's the downside, but I think overall, it's a good move to have them running the project.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Well, what side is the right of way going to be on? Is going to be on? Is it the east side or the west side? It wasn't clear to me reading the document if it said.
We've talked to the, this discussion has come up with the board before, and it was clear that, at least you and your predecessor's view was it needs to be on the north side. So we're talking about the running it, Sherwin-Williams, Dollar General, Hammond Lumber, the Y, Subway, that side, all the way down to the school.
Oh, okay. That's not the north side though.
I'm sorry.
I'm confused because I thought you said it was the north side and that's not the north side.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
that's
Let's see.
east side.
So if you look at it from being I'm thinking of Church Street. If you're thinking of the north-south road, it would be on the east side.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably where it should be. Thank you.
Yeah, and the exciting factor was when we went out with the MDOT sidewalk folks, walked the full length of it, and that's where the kids were walking. So, from the school.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a social path from the school to McDonald's and Subway.
You mentioned the state would charge a fee. What is the fee? Percentage or?
No, it's actual time. And they have charged a fee, since the time in 2011, when the Bristol Road Sidewalk Grant was approved, the state changed their policy, and that's when they, it was the 2013, 2014 timeframe is when they implemented this chargeback system. So I can't give it to you off the top of my head, but I can tell you what they're charging for the Bristol Road Sidewalk project. It's not small change. It's in the tens of thousands.
Well, as long as they keep coming up with money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was going to say they can spend as much as they want to as long as they keep supplying it.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got to come up with the 20%, and then, even at the state and federal level, there's only so much money to go around. So I don't want to cast a negative light on this, but it does cause me some concern. If the more money that goes into administration and engineering and surveying and right-of-way acquisition, that much less for the actual sidewalk and bikeway.
But I think the most important part is we keep doing this engineering. If we have shelf-ready projects, we're going to be in a much better situation, because when the federal dollars start running out there for infrastructure projects, we're going to be setting a lot better on a lot of other towns.
I think
I really believe that.
100%, Mark. You're 100% right, Mark.
So we have to bear with it. Any other discussion on that issue with the Maine Department of Transportation, Main Street Sidewalk Grant?
And if you have
Make a motion.
if you have the recommended motion in front of you, there are what, 4 or 5 components to it. So we need to include all of those.
I'll make the
I'm
motion.
still-
Matt's gonna read it.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because I don't have that right here.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion and Matt's gonna read it off for me.
Okay, the motion is to accept the Maine Department of Transportation award of $48,000 for the engineering and preliminary right-of-way acquisition. Confirm that and this is for the Main Street sidewalk, confirm that the town continues to want to design and construct this project, recertify that the local match has been obligated through future TIF revenues, and requests that the project be administered by Maine DOT staff.
Yep, that's exactly what I was gonna say. So that is my
I
motion.
will second.
All right, it's been, the motion's on there from Josh, seconded by Lou. Any more discussion on that issue? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Now we, Selectmen issues. Selectmen discussions. Let's go, Josh.
My same one as always, be safe and be healthy and take care of one another. And that's it for tonight for me.
Daryl.
I'm going to disappoint tonight. I've got nothing to say to come up with. So we'll move it on to Lou.
I have nothing to say. We'll leave it up to you, Mac.
I know I've got nothing, and I just want everybody to stay safe out there. I think we've been doing a pretty good job in this Lincoln County. Everybody sign up for the shots, get on there so that we can get those vaccines going as soon as we can. And everybody just stay safe. We'll get through this.
Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Mark, I think it's good to just tell folks that may be watching that haven't been watching the news or have gotten a notification from their own doctor, but there is a number that you call to sign up for an appointment. At this point, it's limited to those 65 and older and those who are in the health field and emergency medical and public safety field. But if you haven't made that call and sign up on the automated system there, I'd encourage you to do that.
I can tell you how to get the vaccine. I can tell you how. Get an oxygen tether. I got one the first morning. I didn't go looking for it. They called me and said, "You're scheduled for."
Matt, you might mention the number.
Yeah, that would be great.
As he's searching around, I did get my.
I have it on my wife texted it to me.
Yeah, it's important to get on there.
Yeah, the phone number is 1-877-780-7545. That's 1-877-780-7545.
Yeah, so it's important with that number is take that number, write it down, and utilize that because it's important that you get on that list to get that going. Thank you for that, Matt. Any other issues? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Matt, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Are we going to do anything with the executive session?
Yeah, I sent a note to Mark and Robin earlier asking if you wanted to wait till Robin could be present to have the executive session. In response to a question that Robin asked, it does put us a little bit in a bind, but nothing too serious, in that the department's budgets are due to me this week. But if we could just go ahead and put what Daryl, Cheryl, and I are recommending and what the police union has agreed to, if we could put those numbers in the budget, then we can always back them out, during the budget committee review or the selectmen's review. And then, of course, we'll need to go back to the union and continue the negotiation.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It'd be nice to have
Yeah.
Robin in too.
Is it a good idea? Huh? Is it?
So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
If you could table the executive session.
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we table the executive session.
do I hear a second? Daryl, seconded. All those in favor? Opposed?
Now I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Lou, Daryl, second. All those in favor? Opposed? Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Sorry I was late, Daryl.
See you later.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you, guys.